The best startups start small. And the reason why is small problems are much easier to solve. For example, let's imagine you're trying to solve the problem of global warming, right? Massive, massive problem. How do you do that? There's no direct answer. But actually, if you could break it down, you solve a very specific problem, right? Let's say, I'm looking around. Let's just say, for example, you want to improve drainage, right? And maybe, for example, instead of big concrete tiles and slabs like it's used in pathways, driveways, and everything, maybe you come up with a solution which is like a concrete block, but you come up with a way that's really easy for companies to cast concrete, but with ways that water can still drain down into the earth below, right? Maybe that's going to help prevent flooding. It's going to help preserve things like water levels. It's going to be a step towards global warming, right? And that's a very small niche problem. But in doing so, you can actually solve it. And then you can go and do the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And the other thing is obviously a small niche can grow into a very, very big market. So, for example, and I love the quote from Peter Thiel, who, if you don't know who he is, co-founder of PayPal, very good friends with Elon Musk, and is a massive, massive player in the startup San Francisco ecosystem. Something he said is competition is for losers. And what he means by that is you want to take something very small and very niche that you can solve, and you are the people that people will go to if, in the example that I gave, they want to improve the drainage of their driveway, right? Or maybe, for example, your state government or the US government wants to make it so there's more drainage and there's no standing water on roads, right? Now, suddenly, maybe your technology, if it's strong enough, could be used for roads as well. Now you can do things like prevent flooding in cities because you can help improve drainage when everything's concrete and roads. Actually, now you can help water seep through. Maybe that's going to be good for the wildlife. And there's going to be more, and there's going to be more, and there's going to be more. And what started as a very niche thing of, let's say, preventing puddles on a driveway has snowballed into something so much bigger. And there'll be very little competition because not everyone's trying to solve these very small, very niche problems. And that is the beauty of it. And so many people, especially the startups and the way startups are presented, is you have to have this big, massive future vision. We're going to save all the puppies. And the reality is that's not the case. Like, that's actually quite unappealing to anyone who's looking to invest or work with you, because it's like, how are you going to do that? And you can be like, oh, we're going to do this, and this is the 10-year plan. They say, okay, well, where are you starting? And what they're looking for is something very specific that you can do, and they're going to go, could that work? For example, Airbnb, massive company, they weren't trying to sell the dream like, we're going to transform the world. We're going to give people all these careers and jobs and everything, or Uber the same. Like, Uber started out with the idea of, well, people are driving around, and if Tim's driving to work from place A to place B, then surely Tim can just have a couple people jump in the car, pay him a bit of cash, and take him there. And that's what Uber was about originally. Before you had the whole concept of Uber drivers and being a whole career and a whole living, actually initially the idea was just, well, there's capacity in cars, there's congestion, and taxis are expensive. What if we can solve all three of those problems? And we're going to do it in this city first, and it's going to be small, and it's grown. It's grown geographically all around the world. It's grown by service. So now they're not only doing delivery of people, they do food delivery, they do a bunch of things. And there's people making their entire livings and careers off the back of it. And so Uber started very specific, actually, but it grew and it's become so much more. And that's kind of cool. And so, the thing is, like, a big market, if you're like, we're going to transform the taxi industry, it's vague. It's hard. And it's hard. It's too vague and too hard to win early. But something very small and very specific, you actually can. So that's the beauty of small ideas for a startup. If you can solve something very small and very specific, chances are you're going to have very little competition. It's going to be so much easier to solve. And because you can be so specific, it's also going to help you, for example, with your user acquisition, with your general growth. And when you're pitching investors, you're trying to get great talent to work with you, or even when you're pitching to actual users and everything else, the reality is you're going to be very specific. So suddenly your very small idea becomes very useful. And like the whole thing becomes so much easier. And so it's interesting to me when I speak to about 10 a week, roughly speaking, founders who are looking to work with our studio. And the really interesting thing is there's a lot of them who are like, I don't even know if it's worth it because the idea is so small. I'm like, no, that is exactly what you should be doing. And all these people who are trying to throw these massive, massive ideas, they're going to struggle because either they need to spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on their MVP. And it's hard, and they're moonshots. If you're solving for something very specific, you can do it, and your risk profile decreases. If you're trying to solve this massive, blown up thing, like that's going to be hard. It's going to be expensive, and when it's hard, it means your chance of success is low, which is also what kind of puts off investors. And so, this is the kind of type of thing that we're constantly talking to people about every single day, every single week, which is what is the right size for our first step? And either, it's so interesting, but either people overscope it massively, try and stuff in everything, make everything work, or they're like, man, I don't even know if it's worth doing. It's so small. And we're like, it's so interesting. It's like, no, like you want to do the small, don't overstuff it. And the small is where the gold is. And that is exactly the way you need to think about it. If you want help with any of this kind of stuff, all the links in the video description below. Thank you.